The saga of how the Minnesota Vikings landed quarterback Kirk Cousins is one that brought plenty of March intrigue. There was the pro-Cousins camp. There was the pro-Case Keenum camp. There were some that liked the idea of a Sam Bradford-Teddy Bridgewater combo platter. ESPN's Adam Schefter spoke with Vikings general manager Rick Spielman on his podcast, asking about the tactical pursuit of Cousins. One thing Spielman was sure of was that, when the corn started popping, he knew he wasn't going to be left with an empty bag. Spielman didn't make an ultimatum with Cousins' agent, Mike McCartney, but made it clear he needed to know the level of interest and, if the interest wasn't mutual, he had other buttons he might need to push. We weren't going to put ourselves in that position, Spielman said. Once we start talking to Mike, it was, okay, we have to know. If not, we're going to move on. We're not going to be stuck at the altar without a bride or a groom. Because of the 48-hour negotiating window the NFL has imposed in light of deals being finalized within a minute or two of free agency, Spielman was able to contact McCartney 2 days in advance of free agency starting. A quarterback in the prime of his career hitting the open market is extremely rare. It can be argued the last time it happened was when Drew Brees hit the market, and he was damaged goods coming off throwing shoulder surgery from an injury sustained in the playoffs. Spielman knew that, until an agreement was signed, sealed and delivered, he was in the wind on his quarterback situation, but any reservations he had were quickly dismissed once the process began. The lengthy part was when we started the negotiation process once we were able to start, Spielman said. I thought Mike McCartney did an outstanding job trying to navigate through all the activity that was probably happening on his phone at the time. I think once we had that initial meeting with him, Monday afternoon, we had a pretty good sense that we were going to be into serious consideration as one of the teams he had a strong interest in. Things got a little dicey as the 3 former starters for the Vikings started taking visits and agreeing to terms before things were official, but Spielman was confident the job was getting done. As you're going through that, you start to see Case Keenum get signed before the Vikings signed Cousins, then Bradford, then Teddy, Spielman said. We kind of honed in as we started to lose our other guys. I had a pretty strong feeling that we were going to be able to land him. Spielman's confidence was boosted by the fact that Cousins and McCartney agreed to come to Minnesota first. When Cousins was meeting the team and coaching staff touring US Bank Stadium and the TCO Performance Training Facility was when Spielman felt confident the quarterback wouldn't leave town without a deal. That was far from a guarantee. San Francisco head coach Kyle Shanahan, who was the offensive coordinator for Cousins when he was in Washington, had about as good an insight into what he brings to the table as any coach in the league. When he came to the 49ers, Shanahan was almost immediately linked with reuniting with Cousins. However, when the opportunity to swing a deal to acquire Jimmy Garoppolo from the Patriots came about, the dreams of pairing up with Cousins vanished. But that didn't keep Shanahan from still sending some love Cousins' way in terms of being on the outside looking in on this rare free agency event. Everyone knows how I feel about Kirk and I think most of the league feels that way, Shanahan said. I don't think that's anything different. In free agency, anyone who needed a quarterback, if they thought they had a chance at Kirk, I know pretty sure every team in the league would have gone for him. I don't think I was any different than anyone else. Sign up for Vikings newsletter. Let Vikings fans know your opinion. Follow Viking Update on TWITTERFREE7DAY trial subscription. Spielman had a backup plan in place, but had a strong feeling Cousins would sign with the Vikings. That feeling was strengthened when Cousins came to Minnesota during Super Bowl week. While Spielman was officially forbidden from meeting with Cousins, he knew that Cousins had driven by the new training facility and different neighborhoods he might want to live in if he came to Minnesota. That was what gave Spielman more than fingers crossed hope that Cousins would end up in purple. They did all the required due diligence, and when the positives and negatives were weighed, the scales fell in the direction of a Super Bowl-capable team being better. I think we've sliced and diced it every way you can from an analytical standpoint, Spielman said. Everything he brings, not only on the field, but what type of person he is and what type of leadership he is going to bring. We don't look at him as coming in and being the savior of the organization. We've got a pretty strong football team. It's just another strong piece added at a critical position. With the current team we have, with us being able to stabilize that position with the caliber of player that Kirk brings to us, we felt very strong about making sure that happened.